Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be talking about the Constitutional Convention. Now, up until this point in our class, we've been talking about American history under the Articles of Confederation. Well, as we talked about last week, we know that the Articles of Confederation were just simply too weak. They limited what the government could do, what authority it had, so the Founding Fathers, they came back together and they realized that, this is a problem. Articles of Confederation are just simply not going to work. We need something new, something stronger. So we are going to discuss today how that came about. Leaders assemble at the convention. After Shays's rebellion, many Americans agreed that they needed a stronger federal government to preserve the Union. The Congress called for a convention to meet in Philadelphia in 1787 for the sole and express purpose of revising the Articles of Confederation. Instead of revising the Articles of Confederation, however, the delegates created an entirely new constitution that replaced the Confederation of the National Union. Yeah, their original plan here was not to draft an entire new document, but instead to just fix the Articles of Confederation. They thought they already had a good outline, a good frame of government here. It just needs a few tweaks here and there. But as they made more and more and more changes, it rapidly became pretty obvious that they just needed to scrap the whole thing and start from fresh. In 1787, the Constitutional Convention met in the Assembly Room of Independence Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to discuss amendments to the Articles of Confederation. By 1787, most Americans agreed that the Articles of Confederation were flawed and needed at least two major changes. First, almost everyone wanted Congress to have the power to regulate interstate and international commerce. Second, most Americans also supported granting Congress the power to tax the people. To draft proposed amendments to the Articles, 12 of the 13 states sent delegates to a special convention in Philadelphia in May 1787. Rhode Island declined to participate. Once done, the delegates were supposed to submit the proposed amendments to ratification by the 13 state legislatures. The convention, then known as the Federal Convention, was slated to begin on May 14th. However, only the delegates from Pennsylvania and Virginia made it there on time. More than a week would pass before there were enough delegates to begin the convention. So they wanted to start at May 14th. However, just travel, is going to take a while for travel to work out. So it took a week later than whenever it was supposed to start for them to actually get underway here. The Federal Convention opened in the Pennsylvania State House, now known as Independence Hall, on May 25th, when 29 delegates had finally arrived. Other delegates continued to arrive during the subsequent weeks and months. The proceedings of the convention were shrouded in secrecy so the delegates could speak freely. Because of this, the windows of the hall were often closed for privacy. It was an especially hot summer in 1787, so the delegates were frequently uncomfortable in their closed-off space. Although Thomas Jefferson and John Adams were away in Europe serving as diplomats, the convention included most of the other leading statesmen of the day. So, while this was all going on, it was a terribly hot summer. And because they didn't want anybody listening in on what was going on, they had closed all the windows and the doors and wasn't allowing anybody else in. Well, you got to think back in this time, they didn't have fans or air conditioning, so it got very, very hot in Independence Hall in Philadelphia. So, as you could imagine, this probably made people a little more aggravated, a little easier to tick off, so it led to some fiery debates. Several leaders emerged, including Alexander Hamilton of New York and James Madison of Virginia. The eldest delegate was Benjamin Franklin of Pennsylvania, who added great prestige to the proceedings. Other leaders in attendance were Roger Sherman, Gouverneur Morris, James Wilson, Elbridge Gerry, William Patterson, John Dickinson, Charles Pinckney, Edmund Randolph, and George Mason. These delegates were not typical Americans. They were all white males, many were wealthy, and more than half of them were lawyers. Many of the delegates had helped to write their state constitutions, and 7 had been state governors. 21 had fought in the American Revolution, and 8 had signed the Declaration of Independence. After reading the names of those in attendance, Jefferson remarked that it was an assembly of demigods. The delegates unanimously elected George Washington as the president of the convention. Hamilton and Madison bring different viewpoints. The convention's leading thinkers were Alexander Hamilton and James Madison. Bold in action, Alexander Hamilton was very conservative in principles. Hamilton disliked the idea of democracy. He praised the British Constitution, including its King and House of Lords, as the best model the world has ever produced. He insisted that a balanced government should have elements of aristocracy and monarchy, as well as of republicanism. Hamilton believed that such a government would have real power to command its citizens and impress foreign empires. Governor Morris of Pennsylvania also advocated a strong central government at the convention. Morris thought that the president should hold office for life. James Madison showed his eagerness to participate in the convention by arriving in Philadelphia 11 days early. He had also sent a letter to George Washington in April outlining his thoughts about what should be debated at the convention. Madison had concluded that only a strong nation could rescue the states from their own democratic excesses. Although a critic of democracy, Madison favored republicanism rather than a constitution modeled after the British system. His challenge was to design a government that was both strong and republican. Rejecting the old notion that a republic needed to be small and homogeneous, he insisted that a large republic with diverse interests would best preserve the common good. He reasoned that the numerous interests would check one another. Madison hoped that the nation's most learned men, rather than the many local political leaders he saw in the state legislatures, would govern the new national republic. In addition to providing the basic blueprint for the Constitution, Madison kept the notes that are the best record of the convention. So we're already seeing two very different points of view here with Alexander Hamilton and James Madison. They are both very prominent statesmen of their time. They're both very well known. That's why Benjamin Franklin referred to the group of people there as a group of demigods, meaning that they were so well known that they rivaled being as well known as a god. Okay, here is a graphic that kind of shows what kind of people were at the convention. So let's first look at the age distribution. 4 of the people were between the ages of 20 to 29. 14 were between the ages of 30 to 39. 23 were between the ages of 40 and 49. And 14 of them were above 50 years old, Benjamin Franklin being the oldest person present. Of the delegates, 62% had a college degree. 11% had signed the Articles of Confederation. 73% had served in the Confederation Congress, which was the group of people that wrote the Articles of Confederation. And 71% had signed the final draft of the Constitution. Okay, so, and as far as state representation, Pennsylvania had the highest amount of delegates present with 8, while New Hampshire only had 2. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a grasp of the types of people and number of people that were present at the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. Constitutional compromises. Before a constitution could be written and approved, the delegates needed to come to an agreement about what it should contain. To achieve this goal, they advanced and debated a number of proposals for several months. And we are going to talk about what those proposals were in the next video. That's going to be it for this one, guys. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. I hope everybody's having a great day, and I'll see you again real soon.